what needed to be done. And I just, as I got older, I, started doing my research. My god sister helped me a lot because, like I said, she was already a therapist, so she was in this, the social work field. So we would do Q&A, every now and then, and she pretty much helped me build my business plan and things like that. But my vision has always been, what it is, and that is to build a brand.
Hello?
I'm here. I think she may have hit a dead zone, bro, so we'll wait for her to call back in, put her back on the show. Very interesting topic, man, and she got a lot going. I hope people pick up the support for what she's trying to do, and definitely we'll post that information to the page to get in touch with her at Own Your Dream. About to post a Facebook page up there now. I found it on here, but, so definitely need to support. And it's sad that some places will give you that good lip service, and they'll tell you what you should be doing and what they could do for you, and then they don't follow through, and it's a sad thing when that happens.
But unfortunately, something that we just hear all too often is a lot of times, I know that even in talking who we've had on the show before and talking to Warren and then talking to some of the other people we've had on the shows that have done these kind of programs, too often, the people say that they want to help and they say that they want to do this or they want to do that, but then when you reach out and you ask them for that help, too often they're not there to actually lend those helping hands. So, too often people give those deep lip services, but then when you actually ask them to put somebody there with them, they're not there.
Right. I think we got you back. There you go.
Yeah, got you back. So
Okay, I was disconnected.
No problem. We figured we just talked about how too often folks just give that lip service, but when you want to actually go there and have them involved, as you were saying, they're not there. Even though I know even the big corporations, I know that even Glaxo Wellcome and Free and some of these other big corporations, they're always claiming that they want to reach out into the communities, but then when you tell them to send somebody that's a executive or a scientist into those communities, too often they are either intimidated and afraid or whatever, and they don't want to actually go there and share all of this experience. I mean, we even see that on the athletic side, because we know how many times that there have been great athletes. I'm sure that you probably even reached out to some of them as well, but great athletes that come from the inner cities, but then when you go in there and ask them to come and even tell some of their story about how they went from, like you've done, like some of the story of how you went from not knowing your dad and being the product as a teenager and a child of a single mom, that their athletes have gone through these same things, but I'm sure that when you reach out to them, they don't want to be there to help you as much as you would think they would want to be, even though we've had quite a few athletes that have come from Southeast Raleigh as well as some of those other areas, but I'm sure that if you reach out to them.
Yeah, and I would definitely encourage people, to start a nonprofit, and do all that they can to help kids. But one of the main things you have to have is a passion. It's not something that you can go in thinking that you're going to make a whole lot of money, but you will change a whole lot of lives. Because I didn't have a lot of money starting my nonprofit, so don't believe that you have to have a whole lot of money. You really just have to have a business plan, and have your vision, and and have a passion for what you're doing, and it's going to take off. And one thing about having your own business, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, that having it is something that a person can never take away from you. You can get fired from jobs after jobs after jobs, but when you have this passion, it's something that nobody can take.
Yeah, that's very true. And a lot of times people don't, they claim that they have those passions, and too often they're afraid to pursue those passions, afraid that they're going to fall flat and things of that nature. But it looks like you just went out there with the belief that definitely the God above would get you through whatever you needed to go through, and that it was going to be a success no matter what. So it looks like you had determination. What I was asking before you got cut off from the phone was, at what point do you think you developed this passion and developed this dream of this job? Do you think it's something that you've had in your mind initially as a teenager, or it didn't really take off until you were in your 20s or as an adult?
Well, it didn't take off until I was an adult, because, you know, I was old enough to actually handle my own business and, you know, work and, you know, get money to invest in what I was trying to do. But from a young age, I knew that I didn't want to be a product of my environment, and I knew that it took for me to have discipline and be determined to be different, not to end up a product of my own environment. But as I became became an adult, that's when I took things into my own hands, and I went and took the next step to actually, you know, get the business started, just based off doing a fashion and talent show. And after that, I said, oh, that was a wonderful turnout. And just seeing the smile on those kids' faces, and, you know, a partner of mine, Shakara Connors, who is a author and business owner herself, is one of the ones who helped me, you know, put together, well, actually the fashion and talent show was her idea, and we worked together on that. And then kind of after the show was over, she kind of went back into, you know, her writing and everything, and I just took on the responsibility of the nonprofit itself, and, you know, just took off and made it what it is today.
And what's been the reaction of the community itself? Has the community really taken off and really supported you and the efforts that you've been putting together, the community that you grew up in?
Yes, it has. I mean, you know, sometimes it's hard because with dealing with African American people, I won't say all, but the ones in the community that I'm in, the ones in the community that I grew up in, you know, they have to see it in action. So, you know, especially like once my article came out, even though I was still, you know, before the article, I was posting stuff on Facebook and doing stuff out in the community, I don't really think it hit home as into what I was doing. And this is Lanisha. Like, we live next door to her. Like, we was in school with her. We rode the same bus that she rode, and she is changing the lives of so many kids. Like, we have to get involved. We have to support her. If it wasn't, you know, to do nothing more than sharing a flyer, you know, or just telling someone about it. You know, our people, you know, we are so used to, you know, talking about things that doesn't matter. You know, like I never use the word racist. I never use the word racism, because when I hear the word race, I'm thinking finish line. I don't think black, white, Hispanic, Asian. So it all goes back, you know, to your mindset and pretty much your purpose. And, you know, when you leave here, what you want to be remembered by. Do you want to be the one that always talked about you can't do anything because you're black, or you can't do anything because you a felon, or you can't do anything because of the white man? Or do you want to be remembered by, even though all these things was going on, racism was going on, our president is who he is, you know, at the time, this young black girl with no father, from the project, from the drug-infested area, from the violent area, still took off and saved kids all over her city just by having a vision. Because that's all I had. I didn't have no more than anybody that I grew up with. If anything, I had less.
Wow. And do you think that sometimes we also allow the media to determine what our views of what the projects are and everything? I think about all those rap songs and even some of the movies that actually glorify what's going on in the projects and don't really pay any attention to just the folks that have real positive, inspiring stories that are right there in those same areas. And like you said, a lot of times even the skill sets that are needed are actually skill sets that people that are maybe in what others might consider bad careers are skill sets that they're able to pass on to you to teach other people. Because like I said, I mean, I don't know anybody that's a better businessman than some of the drug dealers out there in terms of actually selling the product.
Right. That's true. That's true. That's why I said I learned a lot from them. I learned what I don't want to sell, but I also learned how to hustle a cooking class, how to do the correct marketing, to have a cooking class or to have a dance class. That's something that I learned from them, and that was just by knowing product. They sold what they sold, but they had to make sure that their product was better than the next man's product, or they wasn't gonna make no money. So I have to make sure that my after-school program or my cooking class reaches the needs of the parents. I have to make sure that with my after-school program, they get a snack, and I might throw that extra piece in and offer tutoring. I have to have a good product.
And that's something you had to learn even from folks that are always probably selling stuff that, as you just said, you didn't want to be involved in either of that business. But a lot of times we find even people in the music industry that they learn a lot from people that have got that kind of background and everything, but they find a way to make it a more positive kind of aspect.
Exactly.
So that's what seems like that's what more and more people need to do is understand the reason that people do what they do, because like you said, a lot of times it also has to do with the environment, not just the environment they're in, but just as you put it earlier, the basic mode of survival. Because if you got 3 kids in your household and there's no other way to get that food, and sometimes that's the only method that you might have at your disposal, and that's why a lot of those people wind up doing that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And like I said, if we can get more programs, started, and and people be mindful, of what the need is, out here in our community before we just start complaining, then I can't say that it'll take away all the gang members, but it'll give our youth a choice, and right now they don't really have a lot of choice. I met a lot of guys and girls that were incarcerated that had skills, that could draw, and that could sing, and they'll never ever get the chance because they're facing 9-10 years. Because instead of being able to turn a keyboard on or being able to play an instrument, they end up having to they turn to drugs. Because music is therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. No
Dance is therapeutic. Art itself is therapeutic. But if they don't have the opportunity placed in front of them, like they have being a gang member, or like they have, being a drug dealer presented right in front of them, they're going to go with what's in their front door.
Right.
Because they don't have the resources. They don't have internet to go up there and Google to see what's out there. Their mother don't have a car, so she can't drive to North Raleigh to put their child in the best dance class. But that doesn't mean we can't create one. We can create it. Yeah. I created it from nothing.
So what activities do you have coming up, or events do you have coming up immediately? Is there anything scheduled for? I know you mentioned Thanksgiving that you usually give your turkey giveaway, but is there any other big events that you've got coming up in the next month or two?
Yes, well, we do have the Thanksgiving drive, which is called the First Family. So we have that going on. We have dance classes starting November the 4th, and December I'm kicking off a bullying campaign where I'm going to go into the schools and discuss bullying. What does bullying look like? What to do if you feel like you're being bullied, how to recognize bullying. So those are 3 of the main things that I have going on right now, that campaign being the biggest and I would say most important thing to me right now because it's something new. And I am trying to get people together on the panel to join the campaign so we can, all link up and go into these schools and talk to these kids about, recognizing bullying. And I don't, choose people, based off their background. I honestly think that if I can, have a couple people with some tough backgrounds, that it would actually be better because in my study and out here, working with these kids, that they respond more to people that live the life, that has experienced what they have experienced versus